I've noticed that there are many people who buy something without caring or fully immersing themselves in the ideas behind. I think these people are missing out the heart and the true beauty of something. So after I made my research about Diptyque, I fell in love with the brand even more. Christine was an interior designer, Yves Quisland worked in theater, and Desmond was a painter. From the very beginning, Diptyque was guided by a raison d'être, reason for being, and the art of being alive. So in other words, they invite people to experience luxury as an intimate and poetic journey. These three friends lived and worked in Saint-Germain-des-Prés, which is an artistic and intellectual heart of the 1960s in Paris. This place was full of artists, writers, and thinkers, and that's where they met. They were incredibly inspired by each other because they had an insatiable curiosity for the world. They found an empty shop at 34 Boulevard Saint-Germain, and they noticed that the building design had two identical windows on either side of the central door. And this is very interesting because, thanks to their architectural knowledge, they recognized that the facade was a diptyque, which in French it's spelled diptyque. So the shop looked like a picture folded in half with matching sides, just like a butterfly's wings. So this inspired the name Diptyque. We were artists. We were not driven by ambition, but rather by passion, imagination, creativity, and the desire to do something with true integrity. 34 Boulevard Saint-Germain was their chic little shop. It was a space where they collected unique objects they found on their travels, and they brought their creativity to life. So in 1961, they sold special objects and wallpapers. And as you can see, in 1963, they expanded into candles, and in 1968, they decided to enter the world of perfume. But we'll talk about this later. Every product of Diptyque has this iconic and unique branding, the signature oval shape. It symbolizes history and the world from the past. These objects, like the pharaonic cartouche from ancient Egypt, the ellipses of the Baroque architecture, the medallions of the 18th century, and the Roman elongated battle shields from a Praetorian Guard. So Diptyque created an emblem around this and turned this oval into a framework for their creative world. Nothing is more charming than imperfection. Desmond had a real passion for calligraphy, and he created these dancing letters which have a real meaning behind. With black Indian ink, Desmond created hand-drawn and customized shapes for every single letter. He made sure that each letter looked unique, so some letters might have branches, some may swirl, and some are bold. These dancing letters are also a little bit like secret codes. This is because Desmond used to uncover secret messages during World War II. He was a code breaker. So when we read the labels, it feels like we are decoding a mystery, just like he did. Here on the right, we can see Diptyque's brand name, a name that's partly inspired by the structure and the shape of ancient temples. And these are some original sketches he made. L'eau was the beginning of the brand's journey into perfumery. They got the inspiration from a very, very old recipe from the 16th century. So back then, people would make little scented balls called pomanders by sticking cloves into oranges to make them smell good and keep bad odors away. Diptyque took this idea and turned it into a perfume with warm, spicy, and floral scents like cinnamon, rose, clove, geranium, and sandalwood. It was created without gender in mind, which was particularly innovative at that time. L'eau means water, and it's pronounced like the letter O, which also contributes to the symbol we were talking about earlier. So the letter O is like a magic key that opens a special world of smells in Diptyque's perfumes. The founders loved the sound of the letter O, and it became an important part of Diptyque, to the point that all of the fragrances contained either the sound of the O or the word l'eau. So everything is kind of an ode to the letter O. What I also found really beautiful is this project of Thousand Flowers. So the Thousand Flowers is an age-old master perfumer's tradition, which at the end of each season, the unsold flowers and plants are gathered together to create a unique fragrance. So inspired by this, Diptyque decided to do their own. And depending on which harvest is best each year, they do limited editions, which Diptyque allows nature to be the guide. What I also find really unique and special about this brand are the little ink poems behind each label. These ink illustrations create a landscape for each scent. Each fragrance has its drawing, and each drawing has its fragrance. This is one of the Maison's unique attributes. And they are also handmade, so what's more chic than that? I apologize if you can't appreciate the drawings and the details. One of the founders, Yves Quisland, spent his childhood summers in Vietnam, particularly in the coastal region of Luzon. So imagine walking through the magical forest in Vietnam. The air smells warm and woody, like trees that had been there for hundreds and thousands of years. In Vietnam, elephants were traditionally used to transport sandalwood logs to temples, where the wood was burned during ceremonies. So obviously the main scent for this fragrance is sandalwood, which gives the creamy and woody scent. The next one is L'ombre dans l'eau. This one is personally my favorite one, and it means the shadow in the water. This is one of Diptyque's most poetic and dreamlike scents. It tells the story of a quiet, intimate moment, lying under a willow tree by a river, watching the reflection of flowers and leaves on the water's surface. It has black-currant leaves, so this gives a fresh, green, and slightly fruity smell. It also has Bulgarian rose, which is a very soft and lovely rose scent that makes you think of a garden full of flowers. It also has a hint of woody and musky notes. These add a gentle, warm finish, so the scent lasts longer. The next one is an ode to the fig tree. It captures the essence of the freshly green leaves, the sweet taste of the fruit, and the soft and warm wood of the tree. They were inspired by the Mediterranean grove under the blazing Greek sun. The last one I find really interesting. It's L'eau de Minthe. So this fragrance is inspired by Minthe, a figure from Greek mythology who was transformed into a mint plant by the god Hades. So this is capturing the essence of nature, transformation, and the mystical qualities of mint. So I think the illustration on the back of the perfume represents just that growth of nature that plants go through, just like Minthe did. Obviously, mint is the central note of the fragrance. Then there's also patchouli, geranium, cedarwood, and musk. Moving on to the candles, Bias is one of Diptyque's most popular candles, and as you can see, it appeared on the series Sex and the City. The character Carrie Bradshaw used Diptyque Bias candle, and it was placed in her apartment, and it became a signature element. There's Black Courant, which is slightly sweet, and it creates an uplifting, fresh opening. Then there's the heart of the fragrance, which is dominated by roses, providing a soft and floral touch. And lastly, in the base notes, there's a little bit of amber and musk. Feu de Bois is another of Diptyque's most iconic candles, and it's known for its smoky, comforting scent. It means firewood, and it evokes the feeling of sitting by a stone fireplace, wrapped in a blanket. Diptyque made this candle to capture the spirit and the energy of the brand's iconic store, 34 Boulevard Saint-Germain, and represent the rich history, craftsmanship, and unique identity of Diptyque's origins. Diptyque also creates extra-large candles, which are these ones over here, and they burn for 120 hours. These are some modern collections that Diptyque has brought to life, and as you can see, they introduced color. I would love to know if you like this move of introducing color into modern designs, or do you rather prefer the old, elegant luxury of black and white designs they used to do? So you can tell me. So as you can see, the City collection is inspired by the essence and the energy of a specific location. Then we have the Valentine's collection, which often smell warm, floral, and sweet. The Gourmand collection is a series of fragrances designed to capture the delicious aromas of food. I can almost smell the biscuit candle from here. This is a beautiful solid perfume from Diptyque. It's from L'Ombre dans l'Eau, and it's a concentrated wax-based version of the fragrance. Now let's look at L'Orphéon. So L'Orphéon was a vibrant jazz club. It was situated next door to Diptyque's original boutique at 34 Boulevard Saint-Germain. This place became a favorite gathering spot for the brand's founders. The bar buzzed with artistic energy, and it attracted a diverse crowd of artists, writers, and intellectuals who would meet to dance, discuss ideas, and enjoy the music late into the night. If you look closely, these 3 lines represent the portrait of its 3 founders. The smell of L'Orphéon is a combination of the wood tables of the bar and the aroma of the cocktails in that time. I think this fragrance is absolutely beautiful because it gives that Parisian nightlife vibe. A few years later, Diptyque bought the Orphéon to expand their boutique, but they kept the blue column so people can visit the store and see it. So I think Diptyque really takes care of the experience us, the customers, have, because they even created a Spotify playlist of electric and jazz beats, which I think just makes the experience much more complete and more beautiful. Savoir-faire is one of Diptyque's most important words because Diptyque's savoir-faire refers to the brand's commitment to craftsmanship, attention to detail, and expertise in creating fragrances, candles, and other luxury products. It's part of what's made Diptyque such an icon and respected brand. So for Diptyque, this term is essential because the brand is deeply rooted in artisanal skills and handmade techniques. They really do ensure that each product, whether it's a candle or fragrance, has a sense of personal care and luxury behind it. Diptyque really wants to preserve the craftsmanship of people who create the products, so glassmakers, ceramists, waxworkers, and perfumers. They want to keep these skills alive. But how did these 3 friends manage to create such high-quality products? Well, they traveled a lot. So they went to different places to find the best flowers, plants, and other ingredients. So they worked directly with the people who grew these ingredients. They sourced the ingredients from them, and then they crafted the candles and the perfumes themselves. Obviously, they did it in small quantities because they were only known in Paris in the very beginning. So they really relied on their own savings and creativity. It was a lot of hard work, and we don't have a lot of detailed public information about exactly how it worked in the very beginning. But here's what we know in simple words. So these 3 founders began Diptyque using their own money and creative energy. So they were already working as artists and designers. So they used that savings they had from their jobs and their own little funds to open their shop. They didn't have big banks or investors backing them at the very, very start. They simply followed their passion with what they had. As the brand grew, it became famous for its art and beautiful scents, and eventually joining a bigger group later. But in the very beginning, it was a small, self-funded creative adventure by 3 friends. But it was a very, very slow growth. So they started in 1960s, and it wasn't until the 1980s when Diptyque became more well-known in Paris for luxury-scented candles and artistic fragrances, but they were still relatively small and independent. Now, what really pushed Diptyque into the success it is today is the investment of Manzanita Capital, which provided the financial backing for Diptyque. So with their help, they opened stores in New York, London, and Tokyo, and really made a difference in Diptyque's expansion. In 2010, Diptyque also expanded its product line into body care, diffusers, and more home decor. Sadly, two of the founders passed away, so Diptyque is now run by Manzanita Capital. And in 2025, they placed a new CEO. Another woman was honored by this position. However, you can see Fabienne Moni, who was the CEO until 2024. And I think this woman played a huge role in helping Diptyque reach more people. Then they sold its products to department stores like Le Bon Marché, Bergdorf Goodman in New York, and Liberty in London. So it took over 35 years to reach a global success for this luxury brand. I also wanted to say that Fabienne Moni and the team that's running Diptyque now, I think it's really respecting the brand's values now that the founders are not there. But I think it's really respecting their taste, and overall it's respecting them. So I really hope you enjoyed knowing a bit more about the brand and understanding where it comes from, and just knowing how a true luxury brand looks like. Hope to see you very, very soon.